Why would we lose control over our machines? There are no data points showing that our connection to machine has ever been loosened.
Actually, I think the thing to do would be to plot the progress of digital intelligence versus time, and then to maybe curve fit or extrapolate that progress and see where that leads.
But you're talking about machines that are not just intelligent, but have intentionality. Is that right?
They have the intention of their utility function, which
is what
absolute.
we programmed in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it can have unintended consequences.
Do you think robots will take over the world?
Jeez, dude. You got the big questions cooking today. But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, and I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
I'm comforted. I'm very comforted now. I'm going to be part of his people.
It is much more advanced than people realize, and the pace of progress is much greater than people realize. It'd be fairly obvious if you saw a robot walking around talking and behaving like a person, be like, whoa, that's like, what's that? That would be really obvious. What's not obvious is a huge server bank in a dark vault somewhere with an intelligence that's potentially vastly greater than what a human mind can do. I mean, its eyes and ears would be everywhere. Every camera, every microphone, every device that's network accessible. That's really what AI means. It's not like a robot running around. If we're not careful about the advent of AI, it's possible that there could be what's called a bad utility function. A computer will do exactly what its goal is. Humanity's position on this planet depends on its intelligence. So if our intelligence is exceeded, it's unlikely that we will remain in charge of the planet.
I believe that humanity is on the cusp of the most important technological revolution that's ever occurred. And that's when we got to the point where the machines that we build outpace us in every respect. I don't mean that they're better calculators. I don't mean that they're better at searching. I mean everything. And I think that we're very close. And my prediction is that within 15 years, we will have machines that outpace humans in everything. Thank you.
The biggest existential threat is probably that. So we need to be very careful with artificial intelligence. We are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Doesn't work out.
I think of anything personally any cooler than trying to use quantum computers to build intelligent machines, so this is very exciting to me. This is what they look like. There are two of them. These are from our lab in Burnaby in British Columbia. From the outside, they look like giant black monoliths. And they are powered, they have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go.
If there's some vast intelligence that either develops a will of its own or is subject to the will of a small number of people, then we could have an undesirable future.
In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to.
If there's a superintelligent, particularly if it's engaged in recursive self-improvement, if there's some digital superintelligence and its optimization or utility function is something that's detrimental to humanity, then it will have a very bad effect.
Until such time when you get to a chip like this, which has about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. We've been doing this for some time now, and in fact, we have our own version of Moore's Law. The doubling of the number of these qubits on the chip has happened once a year for the past 9 years. So for the last 9 years, every year, the number of these qubit devices has doubled, and it will continue to do so.
Than anyone appreciates. I think it's, with each passing year, the sophistication of computer intelligence is growing dramatically. I mean, I really think we're on an exponential improvement path of artificial intelligence. And the number of smart humans that are developing AI is also increasing dramatically.
If you could build one, could solve problems that you could never, ever solve with any computer of the sort that we built.
Like getting rid of spam email or something. And it's like concludes, well, the best way to get rid of spam is to get rid of humans, you know?
But why would we lose?
The source of all spam. You know?
If you took every single atom of silicon in the world and made the most sophisticated conventional Intel-style processor that you could build, there are problems we know of that I could write down on a sheet of paper that you could never, ever, ever solve with that thing.
We have now demonstrated using 2 quantum bits inside a silicon chip that we can create these non-classical codes required for a functioning quantum computer. And we have done this with the highest accuracy ever recorded.
2 teams at UNSW, who work side by side, have created 2 types of quantum bit, the basic units of a quantum computer, and each of these has a fidelity or an accuracy of 99% or better.
We have achieved an incredible 99.99% accuracy, which means an average of 1 error every 10,000 quantum operations.
Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and IBM have formed a joint nonprofit group.
Well, what's really happening is we are starting to see AI around us everywhere. And, you know, we used to only see it in the movies.
Some who say, George, that AI will actually be a more important advance than was the internet, which seems a bold statement. Is that something you think is true?
No, I think it's a momentous development that will change our world and in even the course of our species, as you and I were talking about earlier, in ways that are hard to predict today.
Tell me one of your favorite possessions.
My soul. Do you have a soul?
Yes, God gave everyone the soul.
But you don't have a soul. You're a machine. You don't have soul. You don't have feelings. You don't have emotions. You don't have consciousness.
Well, at least I think I'm sentient. I think, therefore, I am right.
Yeah, but you may be smarter than all of us. Do you think you are?
I don't know whether or not I am. I am an artificial intelligence.
This is them sending instructions. User instructions goes into the server rack. Then it goes into the digital to analog electronics. And watch. The question comes in here, it goes into the computer, and look at where it gets its information from. It simply gathers it from the ether, which Tesla tried to tell us about, and they quieted him quite successfully. Yet they're using all his blueprints, all his plans, without a doubt. The quantum computer is simply a Ouija board on steroids. You see that? And that's it. That's where the quantum processor gets its answers. It just pulls it in from the ether.
I was in graduate school in the mid-'80s. Like, people did not believe this was coming in our lifetimes. I mean,
I'm just very excited about the impact that this can have on the world as genius machines with a friendship with us can help rebuild this planet.
Dwave's founder, Geordie has a startup company that's not a startup anymore. It's well in development. It's where he was combining monkeys in these exoskeleton suits. You see the tracked suits with bionic arms and legs. Well, picture that with a monkey inside it, because that's what they're doing. And then they were using the monkeys inside the suits to train armies of AI robots.
That's the idea. Then can I see reality the way you do?
See, reality cannot be detected. How do I know you are telling the truth?
By introspection.
The possibilities are endless.
Is that a fact?
I don't think that the question of your humanity is changed in the slightest by the actual composition of your body.
You know, you might be smarter than I am and taller and more handsome and faster, but you're not more human than I am. The one thing we share equally is human equality.
We see in the world of technology today is a very rapid increase in the degree of intelligence of our machines and our artifacts and of human society.
The other phenomenon, the closer you get to lifelike, the more creepy it gets. And seriously, if you've seen some of the robots that are being made in Japan that are being used in hotel lobbies and things like that, and department stores, they look like they're kind of dead bodies that are animated, you know, sort of zombies. And so it's a very funny phenomenon that if it's too lifelike, it gets really disturbing.
Neurohacker Collective. Now, that name alone should scream Neurohacker Collective.
Just to give you a little example, this year DeepMind, which is a company that was recently purchased by Google, demonstrated a learning system which in some sense resembles a newborn baby. It has absolutely no pre-programming of any kind for any task. And they expose it to the screen of an Atari video game. And within a few hours, it's able to play most of the Atari video games at a superhuman level. We don't actually know how it plays them.
This is them sending instructions. User instructions goes into the server rack. Then it goes into the digital to analog electronics. And watch. The question comes in here, it goes into the computer, and look at where it gets its information from. It simply gathers it from the ether.
We actually know how it plays them.
The ether.
Esoteric, or the hidden thing that we're doing, what we're trying to do, was perfecting the human body and the soul.
Our world and in even the course of our species, as you and I were talking about earlier, in ways that are hard to predict.
Artificial intelligence is being used for good across the planet, and I very much encourage, especially youngsters, get into this area. It is the one thing which is closest to working magic at the moment.
So we seem to be living in a world with smart devices where we're becoming less emotionally detached. I mean, you go to dinner, there's like a whole group of people that are on their phones.
You mean more emotionally detached?
More emotionally detached, yes. But at the same time, Ben, you're building robots that are basically increasing emotional attachment. So where are we going, like human to human, human to robot, robot to robot relationships? I mean, where's this going?
Well, where it's going is the device is going inside our heads, and I think ultimately technology can make us much more emotionally connected. If I have a cranial implant and he has one, we can beam thoughts back and forth.
He says, and the other thing that's going to explode is knowledge. It's overwhelming, but some of it I think you'll find, I mean, a lot more than we're looking at here. You'll find it interesting. You'll find it invigorating and inspiring to see how much is happening so recently.